Hello, this is FurryMurry7, and I'm going to show you how I got more than 1.5 million points in one of the combat rooms in Batman Arkham City. But before I show you the video, I just want to warn you that I use a lot of terms, words, and phrases that all come from the Wayne Tech menu in the story mode. Simply go to the story mode, open up your Wayne Tech menu, slide all the way over to combat, and you can see that it's all there. My advice, if you're having problems with this game, my advice is to learn this menu, memorize it, and practice it. The only way you'll be able to get better is if you practice. So, without further ado, here's the video, and remember to please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. So for this, I'm going to play on the Iceberg Lounge VIP room, and I'm going to use Batman for this. For my last video I used Catwoman, and in my opinion, it's actually easier to play with Batman than it is with Catwoman. On the surface, it may seem like Catwoman is easier because she's faster than Batman, but the big thing that Batman has that Catwoman does not have is the ability to destroy weapons. You'll need to purchase the upgrade for this in the story mode, but once you purchase the upgrade in the story mode, you'll be able to use this ability in all the combat maps. It's called the special combo Disarm and Destroy. It's where you take a weapon from an enemy's hands and you destroy it to prevent it from being used and picked up by other people. And that's what I love about Batman. Now, what I suggest you do, this is not everyone's preferred play style, but the way I prefer to play is that in the very beginning of the round, that you only use strikes and redirect. Don't use any special combos because you want to stay in your free flow focus mode. And I suggest that you try to do as few counters as possible for a few reasons. One is that strikes are actually faster than counters, so this will enable you to have more leeway and you don't have to worry about being swamped by enemies because you'll be able to make your moves very quickly. The other thing is that critical strikes are actually worth more points than counters. You'll see that I'm not doing very many counters in this first part of the game. I'm just trying to do as many critical strikes as I can. Critical strikes increase your combat multiplier by 2, and they're also worth 20 points each instead of just 10. They also do more damage. Counters are only worth 10 points. With the exception of blade dodges and blade dodge takedowns. Counters are only worth 10 points. So if someone's about to hit you, instead of countering them, you can do a redirect. So what I suggest you do, in my opinion, the best thing to do is to do a redirect. Again, you don't really have to do this in your game. You can play however you like to play. But in my opinion, the strikes are better than the counters, especially in the first part of the game. Now, once the armored enemy starts to get into play, you're going to have to either jump over him or take him out with a instant takedown like that. But don't be afraid to destroy the items that you don't like. The thing I love about Batman is he's able to destroy items, which is amazing. If you're having a problem with dealing with enemies that have stun sticks, just destroy them. If you don't like having to deal with enemies who carry riot shields, just destroy them. If you hate trying to do blade dodges and blade dodge takedowns all the time, just destroy the knife. It makes the fight so much simpler when you destroy items as soon as they come into play. Even if that means you have to wait to take down the armored enemy then sometimes it's worth the wait just to get rid of the stun sticks. It makes the fight so much simpler when you just destroy the items that you don't like or the items that you have trouble with. I don't usually try wasting my time destroying pipes and baseball bats. And another thing that you can do with Batman to deal with the armored enemies, because the armored enemies can sometimes pose a problem, especially if you accidentally hit one. Yeah, the controls in this game, I love how the controls work. I'm not complaining about the controls at all, but sometimes it is a little cumbersome. You try aiming your punch towards a regular enemy, and it ends up hitting an armored enemy, and then you lose your combo. I hate when that happens. But one of the things that you can do with armored enemies, instead of instant takedowning them all the time, what you can do is shoot a remote electrical charge gadget at them. That's the REC, remote electrical charge. And not only does it do more damage to them than it does to a normal enemy, and it also keeps them down on the ground longer than a normal enemy, and it also sends them slamming backwards, so they might end up hitting another enemy, so that both enemies hit the ground at the same time. So that's another thing that you can do with the armored enemies. You can shoot a remote electrical charge at them. You can also do that to enemies holding riot shields. As you can see, I'm not doing that in this video. I'm not going to try shooting riot shield enemies with remote electrical charge. I just destroy the shield. But that is an option for you if you prefer to do that. Shoot the remote electrical charge gadget at the riot shield, and it'll send them... they won't get knocked to the ground, but it'll kind of stun them for a little while. And I lost my combo. I finally lost it after about 500 some multiplier, and that's what I'm talking about. It hit the armored enemy when I tried to hit a normal enemy. It ended up hitting the armored enemy instead, and so I lost my combo. So at this point, since I was trying to get as high of a combo as possible, so now at this point I don't really care very much. I don't wanna make the fight take too long, because then it'll take way too long for me to upload and render. So at this point I'm not really caring. One other thing I forgot to mention is that the important thing, in my opinion, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to always rotate your camera. The game tries to rotate the camera for you when it senses that, you know, there's something that you should see, but the game does not do a perfect job of making sure that you can see everybody that's going to attack you and make sure you have a clear view of the surroundings. So make sure that when you're doing things like when certain animations are playing where you're basically invincible, like you're doing counters, or you're doing special takedowns, or anything like that. You can even do this while you're doing redirects. Make sure you're always swiveling your camera to see what enemies there are, and try to plan out what your next move is gonna be. The goal is to keep your counter rolling by always performing moves. So you have to try to think, you know, 1 or 2 steps ahead, and try to, while the animation is playing, you don't have to watch the animation playing. While the animation is playing, instead of watching the animation itself, you should watch the field and see what the enemies are doing, what kind of enemies are out there, and which enemy you should take on next after the animation finishes playing. So, make sure you do that. Rotate your camera as often as you can, and make sure that you know what's out there, because especially for enemies with long reach, like enemies that have bats or pipes. I mentioned earlier that I usually don't destroy the pipes, but you actually may want to do that if it becomes a problem, because those enemies have such a long reach that they can actually be off of your screen, and they're going to attack you, and you can't see them because they're off of your screen. So you can't see the enemy, you can't see the blue icon above their head. So you need to make sure that you can see everybody, and make sure that you keep rotating your screen. Batman obviously has a lot more gadgets than Catwoman. As you can see in this video, I haven't been using very many gadgets. I've only used a Batarang a couple of times. I've been using the remote electrical charge on a couple of armored enemies. But I don't usually use the gadgets, and for the most part, the reason why is because the gadget, it can be difficult for me to keep up my combo when I use gadgets, and part of the reason why is because the gadget does not always hit the enemy that I want it to hit. And that's another thing about the controls. There's just so many enemies that I try to point my gadget towards a particular enemy, and it hits a different enemy, and usually when that happens, there's an enemy that's about to attack me. So my plan is to let's say there's 2 enemies, and one of them was about to attack me. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to throw Batarang at the other enemy, and then right after it hits him, I'm going to counter and get both of them basically in one clean sweep. And so I throw the Batarang, and it hits the guy with the counter icon above his head. So he's not attacking anymore, and then I hit the counter button because I'm trying to go fast, and I lose my combo because there's nobody to counter. That happens all the time, and it's more than, I mean, I hope it's happening to more than just me. If there's anyone out there that also experiences that, please let me know, because it would be very comforting. But the gadgets, what I suggest is, if that happens to you, just like it happens to me, what I suggest is every time you use a Batarang, you get used to doing a redirect instead of a counter, because the gadget might hit one of the guys about to attack you, and there's nobody to counter, and you'll end up losing your combo, like what happens to me a couple of times in this video. So my suggestion is, if you do decide to use a gadget, you should try to get in the habit of redirecting when you do the counter, just in case. It makes room for any mistakes that you might make. I'm trying to talk during this entire video, but I'm starting to run out of things to talk about. You know, in fact, I never really expected the game to last this long, and I apologize that this is kind of a long video, but I could make it longer if I really wanted to. Maybe one of these days I'll try to go as long as I can with Batman. With most of these things, I try to keep the video short because people usually don't have a long enough attention span to watch an entire 20-minute video. So I try to keep it as short as possible. I kind of went overboard with this video because I kind of got carried away. I forgot that I was supposed to just give up after I reached 1 million. But I really don't have anything to talk about, so I'm going to stay silent until the end, and then I'll say all the stuff that I usually say at the end of a video. So. Oh, I got knocked out while I was doing an aerial attack. That happens way too often. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you want me to do videos of some of the other characters, please let me know. And thank you very much for watching. And make sure you please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you very much. This video is part of TGN's Way Movement, a career path in video. For more info, check out my channel, or go to tgn.tv.